Hi everyone, it's Dr. Marco. Welcome to this week's health tip. So today I'm going to be talking about a specific juice that you're going to be preparing at home or getting somebody to make it for you that can have a big impact on this whole list of stuff. So it can have a positive impact on all of these things. So it could impact things like thyroid problems like hypo, Hashimoto's. It could affect things like rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, Lyme problems, migraine headaches, vertigo, celiac disease, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, diabetes, psoriasis and eczema, lupus problems, Guillain-Barré syndrome, Meniere's disease, gastroesophageal reflux disorder, acid reflux, GERD, that kind of thing, bloating in the intestines, acid reflux as well, restless leg syndrome, and tingling and numbness sensations in the body. Now that sounds like a crazy big list. So we're calling all of these, sometimes they're calling them chronic mystery illnesses, where a lot of people are looking around trying to find an answer to it. They kind of have some answers, but nobody really knows why they have it and what's going on. And medications are helping a little bit, but not really changing it, not really curing it or fixing it. So the underlying root of most of the what we call chronic diseases in the body, diabetes, cancers, overweight, all that kind of stuff, there's sort of like a baseline fundamental thing that we know that like chronic, low-grade, inappropriate inflammation is a big root cause of a lot of these things, happening in different parts of the body, different places, causing different things and different symptoms and that kind of stuff. So there's a specific way to make a juice that's been sort of popularized by one guy. He came up with it from quite a while ago, and a lot of people are using it now, and it's actually changing a lot of people's lives with a lot of these chronic issues. And it's a pretty simple thing to do it in the morning on an empty stomach. You take this juice, and I'm going to explain what that is right now, and we're going to go to the next slide here and I'll show you what that is. Okay, so the magic juice, what is it? It's actually celery juice. This may seem a little strange. People say, why are you juicing celery? So it's very, very specific, and it's coming from Anthony William. This is the book that I recommend everybody should get. It's called Medical Medium. So you can look into why he has all this information and how he has it. It may seem strange to some people, but regardless of that, he's been getting results, which is what I'm most concerned about, because he's been helping thousands of people over the years. And if you go onto his Instagram page, you can see all these people applying these strategies and having big, big effects. So I've been mentioning this to a number of people, and if you put this together with what we do here, those two things and some of the other strategies and things that he talks about, like nutrition-wise, what's in this book, we're going to have some really bulletproof people in life. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlights of what he describes all this stuff, and you get some really good deep information. So the celery juice has to be done this way. He's recommending 16 ounces, which is a fair bit. And so you can build up to that, and it has to be just celery juice. So sometimes when people make juices, they're doing like apple slices and putting cilantro in it and cinnamon and all this kind of stuff. This specifically for this purpose has to be on its own, just celery, organic ideally, because celery's got all those root systems that's pulling in all that stuff, so you don't want it to be sucking up all the bad nutrients. So if you don't have organic, wash it as good as you can. But ideally it would be organic, just celery. You're going to juice it. I have a video after this that will show you. If you have a juicer, then just put celery into a juicer and you get celery juice out of it. If you don't have a juicer, after this video I'm going to show you how I do it with a blender, because I don't have a juicer myself. So I'll show you how to put it in a blender, and what you need to do, you have to strain it a little bit just to get the juice out. But it has to be just celery juice on an empty stomach in the morning, and that's the first thing that goes into your stomach, nothing else. And doing it in this way has some very, very specific benefits and impact into the body. So the first thing, as I mentioned, all of those chronic illnesses, the root cause of a lot of that stuff is just chronic out of balance inflammation. Because your body uses inflammation to heal itself, so if I actually bang my arm, it's going to inflame, and that's how it actually heals the wound. But if that's happening in all my cells, all the time, in all different places, and in my brain and other places like that, that's not good on a chronic basis, because that pushes the body in a bad situation towards all these chronic illnesses. So having this celery juice on itself in the morning has a really big effect on decreasing inflammation. And one of the things I like about what he says in the book is that he says the body never attacks itself. So we have this concept of what we call autoimmune diseases, where the body just happens to be making these white blood cells and it just happens to be attacking our cells for some reason. And his take on it is that everyone actually has pathogens of some sort that the body's attacking them, but we're just not measuring that. They might see antibodies in the blood and they say, oh, that looks like it must be attacking ourselves, and that was kind of passed off as what the problem was, and so everything has an autoimmune problem. So his take on it is that really everyone has some sort of pathogen. It could be a virus, it could be a bacteria. There's a whole host of viruses that he talks about that because of how we've been using heavy metals in the environment and stuff. If you take the concept of when we take a lot of antibiotics, the bacteria that are left after you take the antibiotics are antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So they're even stronger and more dangerous. So on the virus side, the heavy metals and stuff, the viruses kind of use the heavy metals as a shield because your immune cells can't dissolve metals. So the viruses kind of use that as a shield to kind of process it and metabolize it and stuff, and what comes out of it is even more toxic than what went in, sort of thing. So the viruses themselves can produce a lot of dermatoxins, so it can cause skin problems, it can cause neurotoxins, which will cause problems in your body, especially in my field with all the people having nerve symptoms like tingling and numbness and pain and burning and all that kind of stuff. So these viruses can have a big impact on that. So the concept here is this. The celery juice has a very, when it's used in that way, it has an ability to actually starve most of those pathogens. So it can have a big impact on destroying bad viruses and like kind of breaking up the membranes of them so they kind of fall apart. And it also has an effect on taking out bacteria too. So those pathogens in your body, so a lot of them can be hanging out in your liver and your intestines, wherever they are, this celery juice has the ability to kind of break them apart and kind of clear them out, so that you're going to decrease your viral load and your toxin load because of that. So you're going to have less pathogenic toxins. It doesn't have that effect on healthy cells, on healthy bacteria and stuff, but it has the ability to kind of focus in on more of the pathogenic ones. So the other thing inside celery, it's obviously like a salty kind of vegetable, right? So it has a lot of mineral salts, and these are called, he calls them cluster salts. So there's the bacteria, the celery will kind of organize sodium and a bunch of other salts and put them all together in these little clusters, and these clusters have the ability to go in and do all this interesting stuff. And so just like when when you're trying to preserve meats in the wintertime and stuff, you would put salt on it, right? So the salt has the ability to kind of be antiseptic in a way. So this is a very antiseptic thing. And the interesting thing is when you use it in your body uses these salts to actually stabilize your blood pressure. So if it's too high, it might start to normalize it to bring it to a regular level. If it's too low, it might actually bring it up. So people have this big fear about salt and sodium, and I can't have any sodium in my diet if I have high blood pressure, but that won't happen with this. Because natural salts in natural foods don't have that bad effect like table salt that's iodized and stuck in a kiln and bleached of all its minerals and all that kind of stuff, and they put sugar back in it, and there's a whole lot of funky stuff if you read what's in regular table sugar. It's kind of funny. And then these mineral salts have the ability to actually flush out the toxins and the debris that may be kind of building up in your body, so it's a good cleanse for the inside. And like I said, neurotoxins are something that are produced by these bacteria. So the neurotoxins can cause things like burning, numbness, tingling, itching, feeling funny, sensations in your nerves, dizziness issues, sciatica pains, pains in your arms and your legs, tingling. And it can even cause like tremors in your body, like feel like your body's shaking and stuff, Ruth, and different things like that. And the white blood cells, we call them your body's immune system, can actually use these mineral salts to help them actually attack and do their job as well. So it helps your immune system because it helps your white blood cells too. And then one of the other things is that, this is kind of one of the most important ones, is that it helps your stomach produce the right amount of stomach acid. Because I'm going to say maybe 90% of the population, we're not producing stomach acid like we used to because of our environment, stress, diet, whatever it is. If you're in the fight or flight, like most of us are all stressed out because of our jobs and work and life and all that kind of stuff, your body goes into what we call fight or flight mode, and it's not thinking about digesting food, it's just thinking about running away from an invader or something that's attacking us, and it just kind of shuts down the digestive process. So when we do the chiropractic care with the network spinal analysis, it has a big effect on a nerve called the vagus nerve that comes out of your brain, that comes down through in front of your body, and that has a big effect on helping your stomach acid be produced normally. And so if you add what we do, and then you do this as well, this helps provide the raw materials so that the cells in your stomach can actually produce the acid that it needs to. And if you think about this, most of our digestive problems are happening like in the small and large intestines for the most part. People are having bloating and gas and indigestion and cramping and all that kind of stuff. If you get the stomach right at the very top of that whole process, then everything from that point on is going to have a much better opportunity to work properly. And the biggest problem that most people have is that they're sending food that hasn't been broken down properly from the stomach into the intestines, and all of a sudden the bacteria are feasting on something that they shouldn't have as a food source. If the stomach would do its job properly at the beginning because it has the proper acid, then you're not getting this other stuff going into the intestines where the bacteria can kind of get out of balance and start fermenting and producing gases and all this other stuff and bloating and whatever else. So the purpose of the stomach, the high acidity of the stomach, is that it destroys pathogens that might be in the food that you're eating, so you're not going to have these E. coli outbreaks and salmonella and all those kind of things, because the high acidity should destroy all the bad pathogenic bacteria, but it also should help break down your proteins and break apart, your food, so that you're not getting like big proteins going into your intestines that can start to ferment and sit there and produce a bunch of gas and all this other stuff. So we say about probably 90% of the people that have acid reflux have it not because their stomach is too acid. It's almost always because there's not enough acid and the foods aren't getting digested properly. The sphincter on the top of the stomach doesn't close because the acid isn't high enough. It's responsive to acid. So the more acid is, it'll close the top. So food that came down from the esophagus goes into the stomach and it stays there because there's acidity in that top part of the stomach. It'll close the sphincter, keep the food in here. Otherwise, if that sphincter's a little loose, then gases from here, lactic acid can come back up, or different, we call them bad acids from the food being digested, can make their way up in here and start to irritate the esophagus and cause that heartburn and indigestion. So the cluster salts inside the celery juice help your stomach cells produce acid properly, so you'll have the right pH of your stomach to help break down your foods. And those mineral salts also will help your body, your kidneys, and it'll also help your adrenal glands. Because the way our society is full of stress, our adrenal glands need a lot of mineral salt support too, and that's very helpful. Okay, so these are just the first three. There's a couple of others important things that the celery juice does, but I'm going to save that for another video, otherwise it'll go too long, so we'll break it up in a couple pieces. But this is one important thing. I think if everybody starts applying this as soon as they can, so this, along with our care, with the nerves and everything else, it's very, very important that this could help a lot of people with a lot of chronic problems. So we'll go into the other benefits in the next week. So right now I'm going to show you the second video where I'll show you how to make celery juice. If you don't have a juicer, you can still use a blender to make it as well. So that's your health tip for this week. If it was helpful, please share it, and we'll see you next week for part 2. Thanks.